Goo Goo Dolls, Iris, right here on Tracks. Now, stick around. We have a special interview later on. So, with that, of course, I've got one more song lined up. Somber with a song called 12 to 12, right here on Tracks. Good morning, Malaysia. Somber 12 to 12, right here on Tracks, 15 minutes past 8. Hope you're having a wonderful Friday, the 5th of June. And as promised, today we have a special interview. And in the studio right now, we have Jane Chalaya. She is the recipient of the Member of the Order of the British Empire, MBE. Am I correct?
You are certainly correct. It's wonderful to be on your show. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And for the meantime, for those who are just tuning in right now, we are also live on TikTok. That's TRAXXfm OFFICIAL. So a quick hello to those online right now, Iman, Siu, and all that good stuff. Thank you so much for joining. Now, in receiving this honor, Miss Jane, could you tell us how did it all start? When it all began? And you've been in the UK for what, 28 years already in the service?
I have been in the UK for 45 years. I left Malaysia in 81 when I was just about to turn 18.
Oh, wow.
I know, a long time ago.
So tell us the journey.
So I went to the UK. I studied. I was meant to come back to Malaysia, but I met a local and got married. And then I joined the service in May 1998. So to put that into perspective, I wasn't even pregnant, and my daughter now is about to turn 27, and I retired from the service on Friday, 29th May. So I feel like there's so many milestones, and here I am back in Malaysia after 14 years.
My goodness. Yeah.
So this whole experience seems just massive. I received my MBE for specifically projects that I ran and oversaw during the pandemic and post-Brexit.
Wow.
And it was certainly an honor because as a Malaysian, I still have my Malaysian passport, and to have been recognized for my work was simply astounding, really. It came as a shock. I wasn't expecting it. It's a process that's very anonymous. So you don't know if you've been elected, nominated, till you receive the phone call offering it to you, which is what happened to me.
Now, take us back to how many sacrifices or challenges that you faced to get to where you are right now.
Enormous challenges and sacrifices. It is never easy as a foreigner in another country, and especially in a Western country. You're trying to straddle two countries, two cultures. You're constantly trying to negotiate and navigate your identity. So the challenges that I faced specifically were there was a lot of racism along the way as well, and there were a lot of gender stereotypes that I had to overcome as well. So as an example, I would go down to reception to pick somebody up who had come for a meeting with myself. When I appeared at reception, everybody would stand up because they thought I was the receptionist who had come to pick them up.
Oh.
And they would look really shocked. And this happened till just a few years ago. And another stereotype with being a person of colour is there's sometimes less expectation of you. So in the UK, it's which university you go to is very important. My daughter went to a really good one. So people would ask me, which university is your daughter going to? And I told them the name of it. They would look really shocked. It's these little things that you try and overcome. So in terms of work challenges, my MBE was specifically for work that I did in lockdown. So working at home, working long hours at home, I worked, when we went into lockdown, I worked about 65 hours a week. So I was often finishing very late at night and starting very early in the morning. And it was the sense of isolation and not having people to bounce ideas off. And which kind of really hit me when I got the phone call telling me that I've been offered an MBE. And in that sense of isolation, I thought, what, me? Why? What for? And I asked these questions. Mm-hmm. And when the citation was read out to me, I knew straight away that I had, I could see there was a sort of a line of thought between what I'd been doing, which I didn't think resonated anywhere outside the walls of the civil service or my home. And that was my success story.
And you were a senior policy lead in the UK's Business, Energy and Industrial Strategies Department, were you?
Yes, which was latterly named Department for Business and Trade. And my rank was Assistant Director, yes.
And you first started off as?
I first started off as a high executive officer, so which was a few ranks below where I finally left. So the fact that I was able to get promoted was in itself a big success story.
And you were not alone in this as well, right? There are a couple of other Malaysians as well, or were you alone in this department, in this unit?
I was alone.
Wow.
I was alone.
So coping, was it difficult for you, coping?
It was difficult because I constantly had to switch on, the British culture. I think for anybody looking to work abroad and live abroad, one thing that's really important is cultural intelligence and emotional intelligence. So the way I did this was to really lock into the British culture and understand the way they spoke without losing my Malaysian identity. to sort of observe them in meetings. And quite often, for a lot of my career, I was in very high-level meetings with white men, and I would be the only person of color, whether man or woman. And I had to really step up and lean in so as to be taken seriously. So it was kind of not losing my identity while plugging into what it is that made them tick as well. And I think I did this by really honing in on the culture of the country by reading newspapers, things that people often underestimate. Even watching morning TV or listening to morning radio like yourself.
Yes.
To clue in on what are the trends, because small talk in a Western country is really important.
Oh, okay.
So to be able to understand what are the cultural trends shaping a country makes for small talk. And when you can do small talk, it helps you hook in and helps with integration and helps with trust as well.
And it takes time as well.
Yes,
and
it
patience.
does. and investment in yourself, yes.
Exactly. You're originally from Malaysia, but have you spent much of your UK life in UK? How much of your Malaysian upbringing has influenced the person you've become today?
So much. So when you're young, you don't realize that things unravel with age and time. And with age and time, I've started to see that even though I left Malaysia 45 years ago this year, in 1981, so I've been so influenced by the soft skills, the patience, the politeness, the willingness to go that extra mile. And that's all from being Malaysian, really. I missed Malaysian company so much, and I didn't realize that there was a thriving diaspora in the UK till I got my MBE. Then I was introduced to the British Malaysian Society. I'm here in Malaysia on a private trade visit with British Malaysian Society. And I'm also a director with MAP, Malaysian Association of Professionals and Postgraduates. And then I suddenly felt this immense awakening within me. I felt like I'd come home in the UK.
Okay. Okay.
So for the past 3 years, it's been a cultural reawakening for me as a Malaysian in the UK. And I use every opportunity to raise Malaysia's profile as well.
Well, thank you very much for that explanation. Now we're talking to Jane Chalaya. She received the member of the Order of the British Empire, and she has been in the service for 28 years already, and been in the UK for since
45, yeah.
81.
Yes.
1981. So she has a lot of experience and a lot of things to talk about. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the MBE, which is her recognition over here. So stick around right here on Tracks. But of course, if you have any questions, we can actually hop onto our TikTok account right now and post your questions over there, or just give us a call at 03-2282-5491 or 03-2282-4746. Stick around right here on Tracks. We're now Liam Payne, Rita Ora for you right here on Tracks. Liam Payne, Retail Aura for you right here on TRAXXfm. Good morning, Malaysia. And today we have a very special guest in the studio who received the Member of the Order of the British Empire, MBE, Jane Chalaya, in the studio. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me. It feels like such an honor. I'm so excited.
I mean, you arrived here at 10 p.m. yesterday.
I did.
And here you are since like 8, oh no, not 8, 7:40?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
That's right. I came early. Yes, I woke up at 5:30 a.m. I requested a wake-up call from hotel reception.
Oh my goodness. And it was raining. I think it's still raining right now. So yes, thank you very much for coming to the studio now.
Thank you for having me. I repeat again, so exciting. I heard the thunder this morning and I couldn't believe it because you'd hardly get thunder in the UK.
Really?
It's a very rare occurrence.
Brings back memories, yeah? Okay, so in the meantime, we did mention about the MBE. So what does this recognition mean actually to the person who has used it, especially you?
So for me, it has two levels of meaning, and the first level is a personal sense of validation, because I have struggled quite a lot in the UK. I've faced so many challenges, and to receive this award, which is presented by a member of the British royal family, signed, the whole seal is signed off by the King, and I have it hanging on my wall at home. It was presented to me by Princess Anne. So it's just a huge sense of validation that all that work I did was recognized and seen. And on another level, which is equally important, as a Malaysian, I felt like I was honoring my birthland, Malaysia. I left so long ago, and I actually genuinely, honestly wondered how on earth I'd be able to somehow celebrate Malaysia. And then along came this, and I just couldn't believe my luck. So I've used my MBE to raise Malaysia's profile. An interesting fact, when you receive your medal, which is pinned onto you by the royal family member, Princess Anne, I reminded her about the time that she and the Queen visited Malaysia in the 70s, and she stepped back and she went, "Oh my Lord." She said, I'd forgotten that. She said, "Thank you for reminding me." She said, "We don't do big tours like that anymore, but it was such a wonderful time."
And before you received the award, were there any like preparations? How long did it take for the preparation before the big day?
I received the phone call from Cabinet Office, which is the central office of the civil service. I remember on the 12th of December 2022, and I went in September to Windsor Castle. The reason it took so long was because there was a backlog due to the pandemic. So a lot of those people who weren't able to receive the medals in person went first, and then it was people like me.
Wow, so backlog. And were you the only Malaysian at that time?
I was
Wow.
the only Malaysian. And again, it was a very early start. Had to be at the castle for something like 9 a.m., It all felt, the sense of awe, going into the castle through rooms which aren't normally open to the public, and seeing all these paintings and just the sense of largeness.
Were there like any protocols that you had to adhere to as well? Like you need to do a curtsy and all that?
Yes.
Or yes.
Yes.
Did you rehearse it from time to time?
Yeah. Well, they do tell you that you either curtsy. Not everyone wants to bow, so you can nod your head instead.
I see.
But I did bow. All along the way, you're reminded, there's lots of precise instructions. Walk 5 steps to your right, and then walk 4 steps forward, and there's Princess Anne waiting to receive you. But you're treated as an individual, so you're thanked all along the way by the palace's aides.
I see.
For your contribution to the country.
And were you were not alone, right? How many recipients during that day when you received it?
Probably about 100.
Wow. So how long was the procession? Ceremony?
The ceremony lasted... So the actual receiving of the medal lasts about 15 minutes. You're given a few minutes to talk. But the whole thing lasts about 3 hours.
I see.
because you're welcomed, and you're shown around, and then you pose for photographs afterwards.
Now, you've been in the UK, you moved in the UK in 1981. So, what
Yes.
were some of the biggest adjustments that you had to actually make as a young Malaysian settling into a completely different environment?
It took me a long time to feel as if I belonged. I felt different. For a long time, I felt very different. And even the way, so Malaysians speak very good English, right? That's not the point. The point is the way we describe and explain things. So in the UK, you have to explain things in longer sentences. Malaysians can be quite short.
We like to take shortcuts, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes, okay.
I had to drop my Manglish as well. And also when you speak, you don't make sweeping statements. Like you can't say, that is awful. You need to qualify why that is awful.
I see.
That is awful because X, Y, Z.
I see.
And you need to back things up with evidence, even if it's qualitative or quantitative data evidence. You can't just get away with short, no evidence. And if you're professing an opinion as opposed to a fact, qualify your statement by, in my opinion. So it was learning, it was communication skills. And I suffered from imposter syndrome as well, quite a lot. Because, I had to doubly prove myself. I had to always doubly prove myself. And it was, at times, I would say I suffered from cultural trauma, which was never a recognized concept in those days, but now there's a lot of awareness in the UK.
Now, that's interesting because back in the day, it was not recognized like what you said. So how did you overcome that? What were the mental thoughts going through you?
Imposter syndrome. That was my immediate reaction. I'm not good enough. And then it was thinking, I must be better. So I suppose to answer your question, which is really good, I took it on as an individual situation, as an individual crisis. I did not realize till only some years ago that it's actually a collective experience. So in taking it on as an individual experience, I sat back and I would observe and kind of like try and work out what my shortcomings were and what the gaps were that needed to be filled. I had to do a lot of self-work.
And did you have any support in terms of your family or your husband or friends probably? Do you have any support helping you out?
Not those days. Now I do, because as I said, I'm part of the Malaysian diaspora. My husband is white, so bless him, but he will never be able to understand what a person of color goes through,
We'll just leave it at that. Okay.
He empathizes,
Yeah.
but he cannot feel, My daughter is very white passing.
Okay.
And even she says to me, because she has seen me receive racism in the UK, and it has upset her. And even she says to me, I cannot feel the way you feel because I'm white passing.
I see. So she doesn't feel it at all, but the mother does feel it.
Yes, yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yes.
What first attracted you to public service and working in the UK civil service as well?
It was an ethos that was instilled in me by my late father, who died 30 years ago, and I miss him a lot.
Always families, yeah?
Yeah, always, huh?
Yes, yeah.
He was the director of MAPA in those days, which is still going. And I suppose I took forward that you always look to serve in whichever way you can. And that's what led me to the UK civil service, which is, I know some Malaysians are trying to get into the UK civil service in the UK, and I must say it's really, really tough to get into. And recruitment is cut back as well at the moment.
Can you describe to us what you mean by tough? Back in the day. Probably now it's quite simple, is it? Or
no, now it's equally as hard.
I see. Okay.
So they look for written skills, verbal skills, reasoning skills, critical skills. I went through a whole day of in-person panel selections, and I saw there was a psychologist at the end of it as well. So they test you inside out, upside down.
And that took, how long did it take?
It took months, but the actual in-day experience of panel selection was about 7 hours in one day.
Wow. After all that experience you've gone through, looking back, what would you say was the turning point in your career?
The turning point in my career, I think, was Brexit. Brexit. I didn't vote for Brexit, but sometimes a black cloud does give you silver linings.
Oh.
And I was asked to head a team looking at the economic shocks of Brexit in places in the regions of the UK. So that's going back about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, I was asked to work on post-Brexit agreements, and then the pandemic struck and I was asked to lead some big projects there. So it was, my career was born out of crisis.
I see.
And through that, I was able to practice public service. But, I don't want any people to think that practicing public service means total self-denial or sacrifice, because you do work to earn money at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still have to pay your bills.
Has there been any occasions where your multicultural background became an advantage in your career?
Very much so. So only a few months ago, as an example, there was a visiting delegation from Malaysia, and I was asked to lead the meeting because I'm Malaysian.
Obviously, okay, yeah.
So in that way, that was a few years ago. There was a visiting delegation from Brunei, and I was asked again to lead that. So I am able to bring my Asian side to the UK. And in everyday business as usual, what I've brought, I think, is the dimension of international. Because as with any country, it's easy to remain intra-focused, to think only within the confines of your country's walls. So I think I was always able to bring an international slant
Towards that as well. So,
yes.
How do you stay motivated during difficult times or when faced with setbacks during your career as a civil servant?
I always had a why. Why am I doing this? And the why was always a big picture. Why isn't an everyday, because my boss will get angry with me if I don't do this? That's not a why.
Okay.
The why is because I want to prove to myself that I can really answer this very complex problem. The why is proving to myself that I am capable intellectually of achieving certain levels. And also my pension. I retired last Friday and I have a pension that I can live on. Pension was my why many times.
That's the end of the day, the motivation as well, right?
Yes.
Like you said, money.
Absolutely, yeah. Not to buy expensive handbags, but
yeah.
just so you can live a nice, comfortable life and give on to others, like charity.
I see. Could you give yourself, let's say, if you could give your younger self one piece of advice before leaving Malaysia, what would it be?
It's to recognize the difficulties that would lie ahead. I didn't realize I went from being quite sheltered to suddenly abroad, thrown on my Todd and having to survive. So the letter to my younger self would be to realize immense challenges that would lie ahead of me that would stretch for decades as an 18-year-old, and that things happen through time and age. We're always sold this fable in life, which is study well at school, get good grades, go to a good university,
Yes.
and then get married, and your life will be really fine. And that's really not the case, because there are lots of life interventions that happen between all those milestones. And that's what I would say to my younger self. Because there were many days when I thought, I've done all the right things. Why is this happening to me?
It's still not enough. What do I need to do more?
Yes.
Sometimes you
Yes.
get burnt out as well, isn't it?
Yes.
With all these challenges. So,
Yeah.
if you've just tuned in, we're talking to Jane. Chalaya. Yeah, she received the the member of the Order of the British Empire. She's been in the service for more than 28 years.
28 years.
28 years. Been in the UK for more than
45 years.
45 years. Married as well. And throughout your career as a civil service, you've gone through a lot of experiences as well.
Yes.
A lot of challenges as well. And you already mentioned how you all got through it. It's always the why that matters the most. And your advice towards those who are intending to probably go into the civil service abroad, you already mentioned that. So before we can say adieu and goodbye,
Yes.
is there anything you'd like to mention to those listening in from our TikTok live and also those listening on our radio right now? Any advice that you'd give to those intending to probably, I don't know, start a career in the civil service, and probably a message there?
That it's so perhaps I can take it one step back and say, if that is your personal ambition, always evaluate your personal ambitions to see how realistic they are. In the UK, there are tremendous challenges now to recruitment, visa, criteria selection. So please, whatever you aspire to do in life, take into account the systemic restrictions which are not your fault. And then on another level, work out your ambitions and how you can start small. If you want to live abroad, this is a question I get asked a lot by young Malaysians about working and living in the UK. I would say just understand that that you can make an impact as a Malaysian. And integration does not mean that you mix only with locals of the host country. Mixing with Malaysians in the UK or any other country is fine. That integration is about understanding how a country operates legally, culturally, and how its work dynamic plays out. That is integration. A lot of people misunderstand integration to mean that your neighbor must be white. I say that because I live in the UK. And that your best friend must be white. That is not the case. A lot of my best friends are Malaysians. I fill my house with Malaysians once a month at parties I hold.
I can imagine. So how many people do you constantly, or a circle of friends that you have?
Yes.
So how many do you have?
Malaysians, is it? Oh, gosh. Because I'm a member of British Malaysian Society and MAP, I would say close friends, about 40.
Wow. Throughout the years, obviously, you've gained a lot of trust and from
Yes.
friends as well. So,
Yes.
Now, thank you so much, Jane Chalaya, for coming to the studio.
Thank you.
Appreciate showing us or sharing us your experience on how to get through what you're going through, and sharing us also how to get through some of the challenging times as well and how you got through it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And when we come back, we have news, and then after that will be a song request segment, so don't go anywhere. This is TRAXXfm. For now, leaving you with Jess Glein with a song called Hold My Hand, right here on Trax. Good morning, Malaysia.